Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at weather next 8 to 10 days. In today's video, and then I'll have a look at weather coming month from the CFSB2. So we're going off towards the end of February with the 8 to 10 day period, and we'll be going well into March with the CFSB2. So, well, we had a non-event snow event last night. There was a expectation that we might see some snow across eastern parts of the country. It didn't come to anything. There were several reasons for that. It was always looked a marginal situation, but the front sort of fizzled out really across central east parts of the country last night. There's just light rain on it, so consequently we didn't get the evaporative cooling to pull down the temperature, and because it was marginal anyway, we just stayed on the positive side of a sort of a rain-snow divide. So we kept it as rain rather than turning it to snow. Mind you, even if we had turned it to snow, I don't think it would have amounted to too much because the precipitation was so light. A couple of days ago, there was the suggestion that we would have heavy precipitation lasting all day through today, and that would have given us the chance of a decent snow event because we would have got the evaporative cooling to lower the temperature just by that degree or so more, and that would have allowed probably some pretty significant snow. But then it was all downgraded. We saw it happening on the models really over the past couple of Snowwatch updates, that the models were just downgrading the intensity and the snowfall potential of this, and in the end it really came to nothing. And that is how things can develop in the UK in terms of snow. Always very difficult to predict snow, or most of the time very difficult to predict snow in this country. When it gets really cold, of course, there's no problem, but then the air tends to be very dry anyway, so if it's cold enough, often we don't get precipitation. But on the other hand, when we do have a precipitation, often it isn't quite cold enough, and that was the scenario that we saw last night. Now, we may find some wintry conditions coming into the north and west in particular on Sunday, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't think I'll be doing a snow watch tonight, but I'll certainly be keeping an eye on it. If I think it warrants a snow watch, there will be an update coming up on Friday or over the weekend sometime. So Sunday will probably be our next opportunity for some snow, most likely in the north and west with that one. So as I say, we're going to have a look at weather next 8 to 10 days for today's video. Before I get on with that, though, just very quick to mention the ads. There's links to articles on all pages of Gas. Have a browse widgets and click through links if there's any articles that you're interested in, and thanks very much for doing that. So we'll start off with the central temperature, the CET, for February. So we've just trended underneath January, actually. January came out at 5.4 in terms of that central temperature, which is an anomaly around 1.5 degrees above average. We've just trended under that for February, so we're standing at 5.3 at the moment, still around 1.5 degrees above average. That's a little bit surprising. I'm surprised it's that high an anomaly, because it has felt a fairly chilly month to me. But again, we haven't really been getting the night frost, although we've had little bit cooler than average conditions by day, especially in the past week. We still haven't really been getting the night frost, and to get proper cold winter months you do need night frost, and they've been conspicuous by their absence over recent weeks. So again, still a little bit above average with the central temperature. This will probably trend down a bit more though over the remainder of the month, and I would suspect that it will be the coldest month of the winter this February. So we said that in the winter forecast, that February is likely to be the coldest month of the winter, albeit it won't be a particularly cold month, but it will have the lowest temperature average of the winter months. So that side of things has come out reasonably well, but of course it still will probably be above average. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. And whether we get the warmest winter on record, which of course is mainly down to what happened in December, it's going to be a very close run thing. I think we're going to need the temperature to be staying around this sort of area, around 5.3, 5.5, something like that, to get the mildest winter on record. Whether we quite do that, it's going to be a very, very close run thing, I would imagine. Right, these are the 500 millibar height anomalies for the next week to 10 days. So we've got the East End of the Earth on the top, the GFS is on the bottom, 500 millibars, 8,000 feet, is area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure, being moved around by jet stream running going above. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. The ECMWF is developing quite a lot of northern blocking here for the end of the month. This is taking us up to the 28th of February, so that would normally be the last day of the month, but of course we've got an extra day this year as it's leap year. So we have quite a lot of northern blocking appearing here, quite a lot of red developing right over the top of the pole, and that's pushing this trough down to the south. So this is almost turning into quite a cold scenario. The jet stream going a bit like that. We're almost beginning to open the door to proper Arctic air coming down from the north. We do still need to take this high pressure, which has been an omnipresent feature all winter. It's around the Azores and the mid-Atlantic. We do need to push that more over towards Bermuda to really allow these cold temperatures of the cold air to attack from the north. But it really isn't very far away, that, from being really quite a cold scenario as we go to the end of January, go to the end of February, I should say, and into the start of March. The GFS doesn't have as much northern blocking, so you'll see the red over the top of the pole is much less extensive. So it's not as cold, this. We've got high pressure still in the middle part of the Atlantic. There is a trough of low pressure generally going to the south of the country. Jet stream is going a bit like that. So we're still more or less on the cold side of the jet there for the end of February. But the northern blocking, and that's the main point, the northern blocking, the red colours over the top of the pole, nowhere near as extensive as we see over on the ECMWF. So that isn't as close to proper cold conditions there. The temperature anomaly for the coming week, the 18th of February through to 26th, a little bit above average for England and Wales, near normal for Scotland. We will see the temperature staging a bit of a recovery over the next couple of days, and then probably going quite cold again late Sunday and into the start of next week. Rainfall anomalies, precipitation anomalies generally coming out average to a little bit above average. Here's the generic charts. This is for Monday from the GFS. We're bringing down this northerly flow then. So we've got an active cold front coming southwards across the country Sunday into Monday. That could be really very active, and it could really drop the temperature. It could be one of those fronts where the temperature drops by several degrees as the front goes through. And those sort of fronts tend to have a lot of heavy rain and squally winds along the front. They also tend to have lightning and thunder and hail. So things could really liven up late Sunday as this cold front is sweeping south across England and Wales. Ahead of it, the temperature could be up to 12 degrees in the south. But behind it, the temperature could drop to just 4 or 5. So really a big drop in temperature. And you'll know when that cold front is moving through during the course of Sunday afternoon. As it gets out of the way, it leaves us in this northerly wind, which will bring in snow showers, particularly to Scotland and Northern Ireland. There could be significant snow in the north with that. So I probably will be updating snow watch over the next day or so, because I do think the north particularly could get some quite significant snow showers from this northerly wind to start next week. We go through to Tuesday and we build a bit of a ridge across the country there. That's been quite cold air, so it could give us some frosty conditions. Then for the middle part of next week, we bring a new area of low pressure through. Now, the exact position of this low pressure is chopping and changing all the time. It's important because on the northern side, it's still cold. So if this low pressure is further south than this, say if it goes into this sort of zone, it will mean that northern parts of the country have the risk of some snow. At the moment, the idea is to bring this low pressure more or less in across Scotland and Northern Ireland, which leaves the south with rain, maybe a wintry mix across Scotland. But we need to keep an eye on it through the middle of next week. That gets out of the way. The next low pressure is moving in on Thursday. That's right over top of the country on Friday next week, Friday 26th of February. Very wet day coming up, if that's right. Probably snow again for Scotland, just about staying on the cold side of that area of low pressure. Moving through to the final weekend of February, this is Saturday 27th, a bit of a ridge building through the country ahead of its next area of low pressure, and that one dives in on Sunday, bringing more rain. So it's going to be a wet end to February, a wet end to winter if this comes off. And then that one finishes up across Germany just beyond day 10. This is Monday the 29th, the last day of February. That low pressure finishes up across Germany and leaves us in this northerly flow again. So the idea throughout the final week to 10 days of February is really to have the jet stream on a northwest-southeast alignment, which takes these areas of low pressure on a southerly track, and particularly for the north, allows the risk of snow at times. In the south, probably more likely to be rain, but in the north, probably we do get the risk of some snow at times. So weather will remain interesting, and we'll have further marginal snow events, probably for northern parts of the country. Here we have a quick look at the ECMWF, so we'll go back to 96 hours here. This is for Monday, the 22nd of February. Again, bring down that cold northerly wind behind an active cold front midnight on Monday. That gets out of the way and leaves us in a northerly wind as we go through into Tuesday. That could be bringing snow showers to the north and the eastern parts of the country. Then we build this transient ridge in midnight Tuesday to Wednesday, so that will give us a frosty night to Tuesday to Wednesday. I think it will be a cold start to next week. Low pressure comes back in off the Atlantic then through the second half of next week, bringing a lot of wet weather through the country. And we go through to that final weekend of February. This is Saturday 27th. Low pressure is quite a deep feature right over top of the country. Notice pressure is rising to the north. We saw that on the height anomaly charts. And we finish up on day 10, Sunday 28th of February, with that low pressure slipping away to the south. So very similar to what the GFS is doing with this low pressure, taking it away to the south and east. But the difference is that we've got much more extensive blocking setting up to the north. So although that's not classic northern blocking, certainly pressures are rising there to the north, and we're not at all far away from starting to introduce some very cold air from the north and the northeast. As it goes to day 10, we're not in a particularly cold air mass. If we have a look at the upper air temperatures, they aren't particularly cold. They're chilly, but they're not dramatically cold. This is where the real cold is, up here, way to the far north. But give it another day or two, and if that northern blocking was to continue to strengthen, it's not out of question that we could start to move down that proper cold air from the north. Finally, have a look at the CFS V2 for the coming month. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly chart for the coming week. This is the 18th through 24th of February. And deep area of low pressure to the north. High pressure is through the middle part of the Atlantic and over to the east. So we're still on the cool side of a jet here with the flow going something like that. And we bring those areas of low pressure through on a northwest-southeast alignment, as we've already seen. So particularly for the north, there is the risk of some wintry conditions at times with that. We go through to week 2, 25th of February through to the 2nd of March. Looking like this, trough of low pressure gain away to the northwest, ridge through the middle part of the Atlantic. Flow going a bit more westerly as opposed to northwest to southeast with that. So as you get through to the very end of February, start of March, that suggests probably that it turns just a little bit milder, and it's still unsettled with low pressure really up to the north and the west. And then we go through to week 3 and week 4, and look what starts to happen for week 3. We begin to develop all of this red here across the north again. So this is similar to what the ECM is doing for the this is for the week the 3rd to the 9th of March. It's similar to what the ECMWF is hinting at for the end of February, which is to start to build the heights to the north across the Arctic and begin to shove the trough down to the south. So the jet stream going a bit like that, it's becoming much more blocked across the Arctic with those red colours. Week 4, which is as far as we go, the 10th through to the 16th of March, that shows some proper northern blocking here. We've got red colours right over top of the pole. We've got red colours pushing down in towards Greenland as well. There's a trough of low pressure underneath it. You probably need to get this off a little bit further south, but this really isn't very far from starting to bring some very cold conditions down. Actually, there is a lot of blocking here over the top of the pole. Whether this ties in with that sudden stratospheric warming event that we had a couple of weeks ago, I'm not sure. But certainly it's around the sort of time frame you'd expect to start to see northern blocking turning up. And the jet stream around this trough is going to the south of the country, really not at all far from opening the door to some proper cold Arctic air as we get through into March. Now, whether that's good news or bad news depends on your point of view. By the time you get through to March, you're probably hoping that it's starting to warm up and spring's probably setting in. But if that comes off, that level of blocking, it is quite impressive there, particularly as it's going down in towards Greenland. That could really start to delay the spring quite a lot, I think, as we get through into March. We may have to think, very early days on this, but we may have to think a little bit about March being our first colder than average month for quite a long time. I think you have to go back to last summer, or the start of the autumn, maybe September, for our last colder than average month. So very early days on that, but it may be something we have to start thinking about if we begin to see that level of northern blocking setting in for March. Turn back to the nearer time frame, we keep it pretty much as we've had it over the past few weeks, really. I think the jet stream will stay on that northwest to southeast alignment. We'll continue to have southerly tracking areas of low pressure. It will continue to be very unsettled with a lot of rain at times, and Scotland particularly has the risk of wintry conditions on the northern side of these areas of low pressure. So it's a cool end to the winter and very unsettled at times as well. And then the question marks about what's going on as we move through into March. We'll attempt to answer those question marks more tomorrow when we're doing JMA Friday. So I'll have a look at both the Japanese and the CFSB2 models in detail for the coming month. That will be virtually the whole of March. Right, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.